Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Employee to Boss podcast. I'm your host, Hailey Aitkins, the owner of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast agency specializing in editing, marketing, and strategy. And today I have a really great guest, my friend Hailey Aitkins. She is a women's brand and boudoir photographer based in Tacoma, Washington. And through her photography, Hailey empowers women in all phases of life and business to love themselves unapologetically. Hailey has been a professional photographer for 3 years, and her long-term vision is to host body-positive events and retreats around the world to help women heal their relationship with their bodies and claim their self-worth. Hailey believes that photography is a tool for vulnerability, growth, and transformation. So in this episode, we talk all about how she got into photography and started her business, how she niched down to boudoir and brand photography, and also how she started the confidence side of her business and the work she did on herself to then help her clients down the line. We talk about rounding out your business and adding new offers to help your clients just as Hailey did. And we also talk about how you can use your brand photography or whatever photography that you get in your business to help you grow. Hailey is just so amazing and has so much to share. She's just such an amazing energy out here in the world, making other people feel confident about themselves, and the world really does need more people like Hailey. Hailey and I actually met at a networking event, and so we also talk about the power of networking and networking tips and really how you can get more involved in your community and show up more and make more connections and feel more confident in your own community or online. And I just really love this episode. I think it's so powerful for anyone who's a photographer, any business owner, and all women. We all need to listen to this and feel more confident about ourselves. So let's get right into this episode. Podcasting can be game-changing for business growth if you know the right moves to make. That's why I hosted a masterclass called How to Leverage a Podcast for Business Expansion, the 3 moves that you need to know. There are 3 moves that you need to know to have your podcast grow your business. And in this masterclass, we're diving right in. This masterclass is perfect for anyone with a podcast that wants to take it to the next level, or business owners who want to start a podcast that will help them convert listeners to clients. You can access this masterclass immediately by going to espressopodcastproduction.com/masterclass. And I cannot wait for you to learn the 3 moves that you need to know to make your podcast grow your business. Hey, Hailey, thank you so much for joining me on the Employee to Boss podcast. I am so excited to have another Hailey on here.
Me too. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so we met a while back in a networking group here in Seattle, and you live in Tacoma, and just based on our first conversation, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to get along so well. So I'm excited to dive into the business side a little bit more and learn about who you are in business world and your business. So if you wanted to start off by introducing yourself, I would love to learn more.
Yeah, awesome. So happy to be here. Yeah, my name is Hailey Aitkins. I am a woman empowerment photographer. I help women in every phase of life and business to love themselves unapologetically. I have done weddings and elopements and couples and all the things, but I am now focusing primarily on women empowerment. And I just really believe that photography is a vehicle for vulnerability and for healing. And I really want to help bridge the gap for women with photography into their healing journeys.
I love that. And so what did
Yeah.
your journey from employee to boss look like?
Messy, a bit chaotic, a little crazy. It was actually because of COVID. I lost my job. I was laid off and I was on unemployment. It was a bit of a crazy time. And it was kind of like I had always wanted to start my own business. I had loved photography for a really long time, and it was just kind of the perfect opportunity to really have the space and the energy to pour into doing that. So I really started with nothing. I wasn't even like a lot of people, especially photographers, they they have like a full-time job, and then they
hmm
have like their hobby that they like tried, then like their side hustle that they end up trying to build, and then they finally let go of the full-time job to do full-time when they have enough clients to do so. I just fully sent it with like no money, no experience, really not even any support, and just went for it. I just believed in myself, and I just
Mhm.
believed that I would be able to handle whatever difficulties came up, and was like, okay, if I'm going to do it, like I just kind of had the mentality that desperation was going to be a motivator for me, because I
Yeah.
absolutely, like, I had to pay my bills, I had to make ends meet. And so that, like, fear basically was what drove me to just keep myself afloat for so long.
So when
Yeah.
was the first time that you picked up a camera? Was your previous job as a photographer, or did it have a photography aspect?
No, no. I picked up a camera probably when I was, I mean, does a disposable camera count? I love
Sure.
disposable cameras, like when I was really little, like early 2000s.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think I got my first digital camera when I was 13. And then
Hmm.
I got my first like DSLR, I think my junior year of high school for like Christmas. Yeah, but my jobs, I was, I've been a chiropractic assistant, a pizza maker at Papa Murphy's.
Love.
I've I've been an insurance agent and a bank teller. All jobs I hated,
Mhm.
and every job I'm just like, I just want to be outside taking photos. I just want to like go be exploring, go traveling. Yeah, definitely did not have jobs related to anything creative before,
Yeah.
but they paid the bills.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's so interesting because now you post a lot about self-love and you are a boudoir photographer, which I want to hear about how you decided that was going to be the path you went on, and also just the confidence aspect. Because I imagine part of the photography isn't just taking the photos, it's probably making sure that the person you're taking photos of feels safe and comfortable. I mean, they're probably like they are almost naked, so you have to give
Yeah.
them like a area that they can really feel safe in.
Yeah, 100%. So how I got, well, I mean, I really thought that I was going to be doing couples
Mm.
forever, because I love couples. I really do. And the natural next thing usually in like couples photography is to do weddings.
Hmm.
And I do love weddings, but it's just not where I see myself long term. Like, I have always wanted to be like a life coach and somebody that empowered other people and empowered women and like helped people find their sense of like self-worth. And so I've been kind of grappling with, do I need to let go of weddings? Do I need to let go of couples? Kind of. And in order to like really pursue that full like women's empowerment path, yes, I
Yeah.
do. And so I kind of came to a point, and I had done like lots of like boudoir in the past, and I didn't think it was like my calling. I think boudoir is, it's just a natural place for vulnerability, right?
Hmm.
And so to me, that's an easy touch point to get clients into a safe, transformative space. And so, like, empowerment photography doesn't have to be boudoir, but a lot of women correlate the two because, like, duh, pretty easy to make that connection.
That's a great answer because I mean, confidence, I feel like, okay, so in a photo, like seeing yourself look amazing is, a confidence boost. Even when I'm with friends or I'm drinking a coffee and I'm like, take a photo of me. If that photo looks good, I feel like my energy is 10 times better. And so when it comes to my
Mhm.
business photos and just seeing those photos after, especially my branding photos, I was like, okay, now I'm a business owner. Like, I feel like it's one of those pivotal moments
Mhm.
where you either have more self-confidence, you just can go out there and show yourself more. I mean, showing face for businesses is kind of nerve-wracking, right? A lot of newer entrepreneurs are like, oh, I don't want to be on my reels. Oh, I don't want to post photos of myself. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so
Oh yeah.
what do you see, like what advice do you have for people who are kind of wanting to have that more confidence? Like how can they use photos to feel more confident or more,
Hmm.
less of that imposter syndrome?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really believe that photos are a mirror for us. And I like to use photography as a tool to like help
Mhm.
you see who you really are and how like other people really see you. And so I think again back to like fostering that safe space where photography is an experience, right? And so I think using a photography session as a way to like really step into yourself and like saying like this is me, this is what I do, I'm proud of what I do, I'm proud of who I am. It's uncomfortable, but I think getting into that vulnerable space with a photographer and them creating the safe space for you to then go like, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm here, I don't really know what to do with my hands, but like I trust you. And then a huge thing during the session that I do is like show people the photos that I'm taking,
Mm.
and so they can see like, "Oh my god, that's amazing. Like, look at me. That's crazy. That's me? What? No way." And then seeing that, they're like, "Okay, yeah, like I am feeling myself." And so that's kind of like gradually them gaining confidence like throughout the shoot. But I think just taking the risk to even book a session is a huge first step, and then like committing yourself to the investment and to the experience of like, okay, this is going to be uncomfortable, but anything that's uncomfortable always makes us grow and makes us better, more confident people. And really trusting your photographer too to like guide you through that experience is huge.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I'm in the process of creating some extra like resources for my brand shoots and my boudoir shoots, but specifically my branding shoots, giving like a I'm going to create a guide, like a posing guide, just to kind of help you understand like what to do with your body, what to do with your hands, how the session's going to go so that by the time you get there you kind of feel prepped. And
Mhm.
then I'll also be creating a content guide, so, like a comprehensive guide of what to do with the content that we're creating together. And I also provide like videos, behind the scenes kind of content so that you have like you're fully equipped after your brand session to be able to like go into the world, go onto social media and go onto your website and be able to know exactly what you're going to be doing with that content. Because you don't like, yeah, it's pretty photos, but you don't want to just have nice photos for the sake of having them and not knowing what to do with them after. But having those tools really helps give you confidence too, because you know how to apply them, which I think is really huge for business owners.
Yeah.
And then for like confidence with boudoir sessions, I do my best to build as much of a relationship as I can beforehand. And then when we're there, we start with a meditation and like to really get into your body and to transition from something that's like not vulnerable to something that's super vulnerable. And then like I'm just your personal hype woman the whole time, showing you awesome, amazing photos of you. And you just kind of like gain confidence throughout. And I like emotionally check in with you. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh my God, I'm a freaking rock star. I'm
Yes.
amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes. I love that.
it's so
So
fun.
that is so fun. And when I had my branding shoot years and years, I've only done one professional one, and I feel like it's probably time for a new one soon. But
Yeah.
when I did that one, like I said, that was really the moment where I was like, okay, like I'm a business owner. I'm going to put these on my website. I'm going to, and I think it was only 10 photos or something, but I was like, I'm going to use these 10 photos until people are sick of seeing them.
Yeah.
And of course, I like incorporate different photos, but I still post those to this day. And
Yeah.
so branding photography can be an investment for sure. And so as business owners, we really want to maximize that
Mm.
investment. I would love to hear about how most of your clients are using the photos after the photography session.
Yeah, yeah. They create reels, they're putting them on their websites, they're putting them, I mean, all over social media, using them for
Hmm.
graphics, using them for marketing, on their like lead forms, on Honeybook, on everywhere. But another thing, like I mentioned that I add videos and content, but we also have a strategy call and a planning call. So we have like our discovery call, a consult call first, right? Making sure we're a good fit. And then we go into, I have them fill out like a planning form, which then helps me understand everything that they need for planning. And then we have like a planning and strategy and like empowerment call.
Yeah.
And that's where we really create a game plan for the actual like flow of the session and like the shoot. And I ask them questions like, who's your ideal client? What's your like target audience? What message are you going to be conveying with these photos? What do you hope your audience like feels? What message do you think and like hope that they're receiving? What specific offers are you going to be using with these images and these videos, so that we can actually go down a full list of like not just doing willy-nilly like photos and videos, but like we're really intentional with the photos and the videos that we're capturing, because we know exactly how we're going to be using them later. And so all of that is happening in our strategy call. So then when we
Yeah.
are at the shoot, we're taking intentional content, and then they have a game plan all set out for them when they leave and they like go into the world and everything.
That's so smart because, like, yes, you might have some ideas of what photos you're going to take, and yes, they might have some ideas of how they're going to use them. But once you can come together and collaborate, I'm sure that
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier for them to post. And then from the confidence side, since you're their personal hype woman during the shoots,
Yeah.
they probably are also hyped when they post it. But
Mhm.
I know a lot of people do branding photographies or any sort of photography, and then they don't really use the photos because they're not sure how, or they're just not very confident with them. So, for those people who maybe have like a stack of photos that they can use, what
Mm.
do you want to tell them? Like, what confidence advice do you have for posting them?
Don't be afraid to not be perfect. That's the biggest thing. I remember when I was new and I
Hmm.
didn't want to be in front. I'm like, I'm behind the camera. That's where I belong. I don't belong in
Yeah.
front of the camera. Which, like you said, like a lot of new business owners are that way, where it's like, I don't want to bug people. I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to bother them. And I get that. But I think like who you are your business. You're the face of your business. People want to relate to a person. They want to feel connected. They want to feel seen. And they're not going to do that unless they know who they're buying from, right? Like if they don't know who is solving their problems for them, how are they supposed to feel connected enough to want to buy into that? Like they're not going
Hmm.
to believe in you. They're not going to want to buy from someone they don't believe in, because they don't see you. They don't know who you are. And so like just doing it, I know that's like so cliche and like everyone says that, but really just like being comfortable to get uncomfortable and being willing to take the risk of like not being perfect and just being seen
Yeah.
is what you have to do. I mean, and you just like you're not going to do it well, you
Hmm.
know? Like anything that you're doing for the first time, but you have to get yourself out there for the sake of your business doing well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So, how did this relate to your business? You just mentioned you wanted to be behind the camera, but yes, you're helping people grow their businesses with branding shoots. You also have a brand that you need to grow. Otherwise, how will people book you, right? And so,
Hmm.
tell me about that process. Like, when you first started showing up online and working on your own confidence, like, what were some of the things that you had to work on that you see a lot of other people have to work on too?
Yeah. I mean, being seen, being comfortable with the possibility of being judged, I think was the biggest thing to have to like get over. It's honestly been about almost exactly a year since I really like committed to showing up and like showing my face on social media and everything. I just found some like trending reel and was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Here we go. And like if you look back on it, it's so bad. So bad. But I did it. And I think if I had advice to give people, if you maybe start with your stories first, because that's like probably the least amount of risk because it disappears in 24 hours. But just getting used to like having your phone in front of your face, or even if you have like a friend or a family member or a spouse, like hold the phone for you. And that way it feels like you're talking to a person instead of just a screen. That can be helpful too. But yeah, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to commit to messy action. I'm going to commit to not showing up perfectly. And it's once you finally start showing up, like those are the posts that people like the most and that get the most engagement. And I don't know if that's just like an ego boost for me, but it was like that was enough incentive for me to keep showing up, because I'm like, oh, I saw that people cared and that they were paying attention and they liked what I was saying and they liked that I was being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of reaction was helpful to keep doing it. And now I'm just like, I'll say anything, I'll show you anything. Now, kind of like my business model, at least on social media, is like my level of vulnerability meets like my level of engagement or like my level of impact. And so, like, the more vulnerable I can be, the more people I'm helping, because I'm sure the more it resonates with other people. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Because that kind of ties into my next question of building out your space in the photography world in Washington. I know that there's a lot of photographers in every major city, right? And so it is important to making personal connections, showing up online in a certain way, just as you're saying, make sure people feel comfortable enough to reach out to you. And one thing that you do that I don't see a lot of other photographers do is like you had a personal branding shoot that was just so amazing. You were like on a beach, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, that photo shoot was so amazing.
Shout
And
out to my friend Jess
and
for
just the
taking those.
caption that you made with that was like just you talking about like what that meant to you and what it means to your other clients as well. And so tell us more about like building out this space online that for you to stand out from other photographers.
Hmm, that's a meaty question. I think it starts with not caring. I think when I
Hmm.
when I started photography, I knew it was saturated, but I chose to ignore that fact and just focus on my lane and just focus on like what are my strengths? What do I do well? How do I uniquely serve people in a way that makes them feel valued, that's different than other people, and just really focusing on me and my vulnerability and my story, because that's what's going to stand out, right? Is like the biggest difference between me and any other photographer is that it's me. Like like my clients are experiencing me and nobody
Hmm.
else. And so if I just focus on that, put my blinders up, that has helped me a lot to like just not pay attention to the fact that there's other photographers out there.
I like that answer because yeah, like you just said, you know it's a saturated space, but you just chose to just show up as you would, even if it wasn't saturated. And I think that that is very important. I see that in the podcast world because that's where I hang out, of course, where people are like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to start a podcast because there's already one like the one that I want to start. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's true with every single part of business right now. But if you are able to show up and be consistent with it, you will stand out because there's space for everyone in this world, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. There's space for everybody.
Yeah.
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 So, what other pieces of advice do you have for people wanting to start showing up online more?
I mean, I'm just going to repeat myself with the whole messy action thing, because I really strongly believe in taking messy action, because I think the root issue of why people aren't showing up online or aren't showing up for themselves and their business or aren't showing up on social media
Hmm.
is because they're afraid it's not going to be good enough. They're afraid it's not going to be perfect enough, right? And so they just wait until what? Perfection? Perfection's never going to happen. And so I think you just have to start doing something. So like if you post something, something is better than nothing. And then you learn, you gain momentum, right? By just every time you do something, you learn just a little bit, and then you like make it just a little bit better the next time, a little bit better next time.
Hmm.
And then eventually, pretty quickly, you gain massive momentum. And you're like, oh wow, like look at where I am. And it's only been like a month or 3 months, and my content is so much better than it was. But you're also like gaining the followers that are following you along the way of that are real people
Hmm.
that actually care about what you're doing. And those are the kinds of followers you want anyways. You don't want followers that are only there for like perfectly curated aesthetics or whatever, like you want
Right.
followers that are willing to take you like go with you through all of the different phases of your business and all the different vulnerabilities and all the different chaos and whatever. Those are people that are going to be loyal, right? And so
Yeah.
if you're showing up authentically, you're going to pull in authentic people with you. And that's the audience really that you want to be selling to, that you want to be connecting with. So I think you just have to show up. And like I said, like if you start with your stories, that's a really easy gateway into social media because like yeah, there's not as much risk. You're not like
Yeah.
you don't have a post that's like living out there on your feed forever. But I would say if you're like, I don't even know what I want my first post to be, make it an introductory post.
Mm.
Make it something that can be fun, that can be interactive. Maybe you can do like three truths and a lie or whatever, or two truths and a lie, or whatever that game
Yeah.
is. Something that's fun or just something that you're interested in. Because if you're posting some like stuff that you're not even interested in, then like what's the point? You're not going to like it. Your followers are probably not going to like it.
Right.
So just make it fun and just do the damn thing.
Yeah. Well, also, what came up for me when you were saying that is we both started our businesses around the same time in 2020. And I have people reaching out to me who are like, I've been thinking about starting a podcast for a couple years now, and you popped into mine because they've been following me for like 3 years and haven't taken
Yeah.
action on talking to me. And the more you post, the more people will see you, but also the more opinions you post or the more authentically you post there are. Like,
Hmm.
for instance, we're both in Washington, so a lot of people, if we were to post like hiking photos or something, probably people here will resonate with that. So you just have to find something that people will think of you like, oh, yes, like Hailey is a photographer, but Hailey also posts these very authentic and vulnerable things on her story. So when I'm looking for a photographer that I have to be vulnerable around, I'm going to go to her because she's not afraid to be vulnerable to the internet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the hope. That's my goal is like
Hmm.
if I'm showing up and I'm willing to share parts of my story, parts of my body, parts of like difficult things in my life, then people are going to be more comfortable in order to like do the same and to show up for
Yeah.
themselves and be able to trust me that I can create a space for them to do that because I know what it's like to be in
Yeah.
their shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are based in Tacoma, Washington, but where are most of your clients? Like where, if someone's listening, and where do you normally work with people?
All over Washington. Well, mostly Western Washington. Yeah, but I mean, it's taking me to different countries and stuff, but mostly Western Washington right now. That's where I've been like really committing a lot of my time with like
Hmm.
networking and in-person meetings and stuff. But yeah, Western Washington mostly.
Have you found that in-person networking events have been a business growth opportunity for you, or what's the best way that you've connected with more people?
Definitely in-person networking events. Huge. I mean,
Yeah.
like I don't understand why I didn't do it sooner. Like, what was I doing? Just twiddling my thumbs? Yeah, I think I was like so afraid of it for so long and didn't honestly, it was like I don't think I saw myself as like a capable woman, let alone a
Mm,
capable woman in business. So it was hard for me to even comprehend like that I had the capacity to like step into a room of business owners and say my spiel like,
yeah.
like I didn't belong there. But it took a long time. But once I really committed to it and I'm like I try to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I want
Yeah.
people to wonder how I'm everywhere. That's been my goal. But it really has made a huge impact on me personally, but also on my business because I just think that those like in-person connections when you can really feel somebody's energy makes such a big difference than just being on social media. And then like
Yeah.
you can know, oh, like I like this energy, their energy reminds me of this other person, and I think that they would connect, and then, just like huge impact.
Yeah, yeah. So it's great
Fireworks.
for networking your own business, but also making those connections to be like a connector for other people. So since we both started during the pandemic, going back to networking events for me was scary because I was never a business owner before this and never
Oh,
had to
okay.
network. And
Yeah.
so, what is kind of your mindset going into networking events?
It has changed. When I first started going, I was like, it was a messy action thing. It
Yeah,
was like, I
yeah.
just need to go, right? I just need to like get myself out
Hmm.
there. I need to be in the same room as other women business owners. And now I there's more strategy involved where it's like, okay, my boyfriend Alex also goes to a lot of networking events, and he gave me this really great advice of like, okay, go in with questions that you are like interested in the answers for.
Okay.
So like if you have a question about your own business or your own struggle or something that you're going through and you're really curious about like what other people might think of it, go in and ask those questions instead of like, so what do you do? Ah, interesting. Like there's so many opportunities to really expand and amplify the impact that you have, and like being able to get value out of it and add value, right? Because then you're like sparking more conversations of like, how can I help you? How can you help me?
Wait, that's so funny. I love that because there's a lot of times where it's like, yeah, what do you do? And then you answer and then question back, and then it's just like, awesome. Where do we go from here? Like, so I
Yeah.
love that idea of having some questions in mind for your own business, for maybe your client's business, maybe something that's been coming up for you a lot recently. And a lot of the networking events that I go to here in Seattle and Washington are women's networking events. And
Hmm.
I think it's a lot easier to be vulnerable in a crowd of all women. I've been to like, some that aren't, but I just love a whole room of ladies. I feel like that's very, very empowering.
Oh yeah. It's magical. It really is.
It is.
Uh yeah. I was like, well, and the beauty of it, what I've learned is like I get to see other women do such amazing, powerful work, right?
Yeah.
And then we get to be this mirror for each other. And it's like, wow, if she can do that, I can do that. And like being able to be in an environment where it's normal to do these big, awesome, amazing, impactful things makes it so much more like normalizes it for you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, well, like people in my group and in my environment are making these things happen. That means like I can make those things happen too. And it's not
Hmm.
weird, it's not scary, it's not crazy. Like it's so accessible. And also we can be like resources for each other. We can ask each other questions, we can coach each other through things, and we can like make business so much easier because we don't have to do it alone anymore.
Yeah.
But the whole like mirror thing, being able to like, I didn't have women that I looked up to growing up. I didn't have examples or role models or heroes, really. Maybe like one that I can think of, but I didn't really have anybody that I was like, wow, I really want to be her, you know?
Hmm.
Was just like, I am me and I don't really like me, but I'm here I am and I want to do stuff, but I don't know
Yeah.
how. And now it's like I belong here in a room of women that are also doing powerful things, and I can do them, and I can look up to her and she can look up to me, and now we can like collaborate and we can do things, and like it makes such a huge, huge difference in my life, in my confidence, and in my business. Has it been really powerful for you too?
Yeah, definitely. So when I moved up to Washington, also during the pandemic, I only knew two people in the whole state. And so I had to learn how to
Wow.
like meet people because I had grown up in the same place, Las Vegas, my whole life. So moving here was like
Yeah.
a very big change. So first I needed to make friends and like make connections. And then I started my business and I was like, well, I don't really know anyone and I really don't know any business owners. And so it was hard to be on like all on my own to
Yeah.
create this business. And so I did, make a lot of online connections. That's really when I started making like friends on Instagram, friends through, business coaching programs. And so once I decided, okay, I need some in-person networking, I need to meet some people who I can just like ask questions to, I can just like be inspired by. That was really when
Mhm.
I felt like more belonging in Washington, if that makes sense. And so
Yeah, that's
it
amazing.
really, yeah, it was very, very empowering once I was able to finally push my, I'm extroverted, but for some reason, going into a networking event was so scary. And so
It
now
is.
I love it. Now I'm like, I'll talk to every single one. I can like get in front of a group and it would be fine, but it definitely did take some time to get there.
Yeah, yeah, it's scary. What ended up bringing you to Washington?
I moved here because I was laid off in Vegas and I wanted to do something new. And
Okay.
one of my friends from high school lived up here and she was like, "Hey, do you want to be my roommate?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not doing anything in Vegas. I was just living with my mom and just had graduated college." And so that was why I moved up here. I just really had nothing going on and was like, "Well, why not?"
Yeah,
So,
that's
and I've
incredible.
stayed. Yeah, yeah. I do like it here. I'll probably stay
Good.
longer, but it's a cool city. There's a lot of cool people here. It's fun
Yeah.
getting to like once you are in Washington longer, it's very much a smaller city than I had
Mm.
imagined. Like I'm
Mhm.
meeting people now that like know people I know and I'm like, okay, this is more like the vibe I was wanting. Like a big
Yes.
city, but like friendly people
Mhm.
who are all connected.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel that way, like, it's big city, small town
Hmm.
kinda feel. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, where it's
And
like
we're in two
everybody knows
different
everybody.
cities. Yeah, we're in two
Yeah.
different cities, but I think that I still know a lot of people from Tacoma and meeting you, I'm like, okay, like it's all connected. It's amazing.
It's all connected. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you're loving it here.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Good for you. That's a hard
It,
change.
it definitely was, but worth it in the end.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah,
I
I'm
wouldn't have
happier.
my business. I would not have had my business if I stayed in Vegas. So I probably would have just gone back to corporate. So I'm very thankful for the move that inspired this. And I feel like if I knew people and was comfortable, I would not have pushed myself to do
Oh,
this.
yeah.
That's why so
Totally.
many people started their businesses in COVID. They were pushed to like an uncomfortable place and they were like,
Mhm.
well, let's just be more uncomfortable, you know?
Yep. That's where the most growth happens.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Haley, I have loved this conversation. To wrap it up, I would love it if you could challenge the audience this week with three things. So, what are the three things you'd like to challenge the audience with?
I want to challenge them as, like, new business owners, and if you're, like, trying to put yourself out there, take one messy action step. You can decide what that is, or I can just tell you what to do if that's easier. Put your face on social media just once this week. If that's on a story, if that's on a post, if that's in a reel, whatever that looks like, put your face out there because people want to connect with you. Second thing for confidence would say get in front of the mirror, look yourself in the eye, and start saying nice things to yourself for 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. It's all it takes. But just getting the practice of actually like looking at yourself and saying kind things and receiving them. Because it's one thing to just like think them, but if you're like actively looking at yourself while you're doing it, you're also receiving and giving at the same time. And it's really powerful. Third, if you are new and you're looking for a brand photographer, you don't have to hire me, but I would highly recommend in order for like you to get the best out of the experience and to feel the most confident, I would challenge you to just like really ask your photographer a lot of questions and lean in and trust them with the experience because and trust the people, like get good people around you that you can like trust their opinion and they're going to challenge you and they're going to like tell you hard things when they have to tell you hard things because trusting the people that you're hiring and trusting your community and like actually being able to receive that critical feedback and then do something about it is going to like make huge waves in strides in your business and just in your life.
Mm.
Yeah. I hope that was helpful.
I love those. I love those. And where can people connect with you?
Yeah, the biggest place to connect with me is on Instagram right now at Hailey Aitkins photo. I'm on there all the time. So, and I'm running it. I will never pass it off to a social media manager. It'll always be me. So when you're messaging, it's going to be me on the other side. So feel free to shoot me a message if you have any questions about photography or about confidence or body positivity or boudoir or branding. Feel free to just shoot me a text. I'm happy to answer your questions or to get coffee or to do a Zoom date. Yeah, I just want to be a resource for people to help them love themselves better.
Awesome. I love that. Well, Hailey, I'll put all of your links in the show notes, and I hope that a lot of people reach out to you because what you're offering is so valuable in business owners' lives and anyone's life. Just like that self-love, self-confidence is such a key part of living a good, happy life. So I really admire what you're doing, and I just think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity to be on here. I'm so happy to be here and excited to see you at more networking events. And yeah, I just really appreciate you and the time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.